Okay, it's 7:30 on the 28th of May, and I'm going to call the Zoom meeting of the Wastewater Committee to order.
Hey, Al.
Present, but yeah, pardon?
Al, to be technically correct, we ought to do a roll call vote for these meetings.
Yeah, I was going to just
Fine.
identify who was here, but
Yeah, I don't think that quite meets the
okay.
standard.
All right, so we will have a roll call vote. Al Hamilton is here.
Sam Stivers is here.
Moss is here.
Claire Reynolds is here.
Alan Belniak is here.
Okay.
Cundiff is ex officio.
Bill
Yeah.
Cundiff, ex officio is here.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'll volunteer to do meeting minutes again.
All right, all right. So the first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the 22nd. Is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I can.
Okay, all those in
seconded?
favor? Roll call vote.
Al,
Sam?
1 second. Al,
Oh.
Sam's trying to figure out who seconded it.
Seconded?
I did. And
Okay,
Bob,
thanks.
you pick one. Yep. Go ahead, Al.
Okay.
Okay, roll call vote. Sam?
Yes?
Claire?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Bob? And Al is yes.
Okay.
All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way. Okay, so
How about the 22nd?
yes, it was for the 522.
19th, we need also, though.
Okay, then I'll move. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the 19th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second. Okay, okay. All right, roll call vote. Sam,
Yes?
Claire,
Yes.
Bob, Alan,
Yes.
and Al is yes. All right, we've taken care of that piece of bureaucracy. All right, so I think basically where we are is I think we need to sort of walk through the application, and maybe the thing to do is to give Anna control and have her put the application on, and let's walk through from start to finish. Does that make sense?
Al, is
Sure
this
does.
Sounds
is
good.
is this a review? It's really hard to just because whatever the technical difficulties were is to really be able to. We're not going to vote on this tonight. Is that correct?
We will have to vote on it at some point.
Understood.
yeah.
But I think that for me, it's not enough time to really be able to take a look at it and just make sure it includes everything that we want to have included.
we
Let's
have a
look at it
meeting.
and see. I mean, let's see what we think. I haven't seen it myself either yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I sent it out a little late because I was busy farming today. So in any event, let's walk through. We do have a meeting posted for tomorrow evening in person, and hopefully we can do that. So why don't we turn this over to Anna and have her share a screen or however she wants to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes, before I do that, I just want to clarify something. Before we had talked about either going through the SharePoint site for everyone to edit or to email each person of the committee individually to put their edits in. So everyone had a chance to look at that. Are we foregoing that and just doing this tonight instead? Or how would you like to proceed?
I think that's what we have to do because we can't really do it the other way, according to town council.
No, Al, I don't think you're following. I think what Anna's saying, Anna, if you allow me to jump in, is take a version of the doc and email it, for example, to Bob. Bob makes his edits, great, closes it down, sends that version with his edits to Claire. Claire makes her edits, saves it, stores it to Sam. So we edit it serially, but not in parallel at the same time. That way it tracks all of our edits, but we're not deliberating. Is that right, Anna?
Yes.
I don't think that works though, Alan. Do you think
No.
town council says that works?
It's called polling.
Well, it's called serial
Open. Yeah, exactly.
communication.
Because
Because then I will see what previous editors have done in that, unless you mask the track changes thing somehow.
So the specific question I asked was if we could collaborate on a document in real time, and that's what they said no to. I can go back and ask if we can or cannot edit serially. if we can't, that is absolutely ridiculous. How is a committee supposed to work as a committee if we
Yeah.
can't work as a committee?
Well, what I've done before is to have one person be the collector, that maybe Anna, for example, in this case. Anna sends out the document. We all make comments, send it back to Anna, so I can't see, for example, what others have commented. Anna puts it together and circulates the final version for the committee to discuss. That has worked in my experience previously.
Yeah.
But
As a binary decision, does it work? Yes, no. Yes. Is it practical? No, because Anna's getting 5 sets of changes she has to merge. And it's absolutely ludicrous to have to do that, especially when we're on a deadline.
Yeah.
I will volunteer to email Jay Talman right now, like during this meeting, and ask, can we do it the way I just suggested? I'll see if we get an answer. Okay.
So
Okay,
Alan, are
all
you
right.
suggesting, Alan, that we can't talk about it in open meeting session now with a
No, we,
Anna
we
sharing her
can.
screen?
oh, we absolutely can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
but I thought that,
and
Alan,
if,
you were saying, I
okay.
thought we can't do that.
No,
No,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying is it sounds, what I thought I heard you say was, we can't take a version of the document, have one person edit it, pass it to the next person, make those edits, pass it
Right.
to the next, and so on, and then get it back to Anna. I thought you had said that might be construed as deliberation.
That
Was the
is
part
my
I think is
view.
ludicrous. Yeah,
That's
I
my
think
view.
that's ludicrous.
I agree, but
okay,
It
so
is
in the
lu-
interest of time, I think the best way to do it is to have Anna go through what she has done. And then we can all take notes, and then tomorrow night we'll be able to, each individual person who might have something to say, we'll just plug it in, because we will be in a qualified meeting, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah, this meeting qualifies. So yeah, why don't we get started? Let's see if there aren't things that we can simply say, that's good enough. Let's move on.
yep.
Yeah. But Alan, I'm afraid Sam is right. Because that's the sort of the serial communication that we get warned against. And by the way, yes, it is absolutely ludicrous. The whole meeting law is.
I'm not contesting the open meeting law. I just don't think that making edits in a document constitutes deliberation. I think edits in a document constitutes edits in a document. That's fine. Let's move on.
I agree with you, but okay, Anna, why don't you take it away? Can we give Anna control and,
She has it.
okay. All right. So,
A little bigger, please, Anna.
Yes.
My aging eyes are, there we go.
Thank
Good,
you.
thank you. Okay.
The application starts with background information.
Yep.
So this is going to be the same for all of the applications for the town. It's a public organization.
Anna, on 1.4, Andrew Dennington is select board chair now.
Okay, that's good to know.
adennington@southboroughma.com.
Did I spell that correctly?
Dennington. Yep.
perfect. All right, we're making progress.
Okay, next question, asking if it's a joint application between multiple applicants. The answer is no.
Mhm.
Next, it talks about community housing restrictions. We discussed that, I believe, in our first meeting, that the town doesn't have any. And as for community development tools, we also discussed that the town is not pursuing any of these options. You can only check one at a time, but in the actual application, you'll check all of them.
Okay, yep.
Mhm.
So far, so good.
So this is the Route 9 project that we're going through. So you put the project name, the location, and it asks about whether it is an MBTA community. Southborough is compliant,
Yep.
and you have to check this acknowledgement to say that the community is compliant, or else you aren't eligible for the grant. Then next you put a short project abstract with a max of 500 characters.
Okay, why don't we just stop here and have everybody read that? Because I wrote that so I'll read it. So we seek funding for preliminary design and hydrogeologic studies to implement a sewer system along Route 9 in Southborough. Identified in the 2021 master plan as an economic development objective, Route 9 is crucial for addressing the tax revenue shortage and enhancing commercial diversity. The absence of sewer infrastructure is a significant limitation to commercial and industrial development. Multiple feasibility studies and a wastewater action plan have been conducted and recommended. and recommend additional analysis to identify optimal wastewater disposal properties and their capacities. I'm good with that. Is everybody else?
Like it.
I think it reads really well. The one thing we're missing there, and I don't know how many characters we have left to use, if any, is any sort of, I mean, you mentioned EDC, which is great. That sort of hints at we want to sort of bump up the commercial / non-residential tax base, enhancing commercial diversity. I don't know if there's room or desire to specifically mention that we're looking to push that up.
Yeah,
If there's no room, that's fine. I'm
Um,
just calling it out.
This, I believe, is right around that 500 characters. I don't think there would be room to add an extra sentence, but on the next
Okay.
page, we'll go through a project narrative and project scope. So if you wanted to write that down, any comments you have, and see if we address them
Okay.
in each ones.
Got it. Thanks.
yep. And again, I think the key point, I like the direction you're going there, Alan, is that we've got an asset there in terms of our location that this will leverage and generate additional commercial tax revenue particularly. And that to me is a key point here for the case, to say that we've got an asset that is underutilized that actually will generate substantial payback for this kind of investment for the community.
By the way, I took credit where Claire deserves most of it, because she took my scratchings and cleaned them up and made them prettier. So
I was
I
wondering,
didn't want
Al,
to steer her thunder.
this
No.
is clearer than your usual text, Al. I was wondering.
Hats off to both of you.
I
Let's proceed.
appreciate that from my adult supervision here.
All right, let's proceed.
So next, it asked just about a housing choice. Southborough is not a housing choice community, so let's just check the box for no. We won't be
Okay.
answering any housing choice questions.
Okay, so I've already talked to the planning board about this, if we can just backtrack there for a second. No, we are not now a housing choice community, but if you backtrack to the previous page, the option there is, do you want to be considered by the Housing Choice Grant Program? And the town has a plan, according to the planning board, that they are going to be applying as a housing choice community. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, because in the system, sometimes when you check off one box, it gives you other boxes to check off. So I don't know if we're because you don't have access to the system. I'm not exactly sure where this stands.
That's correct. It's my understanding, since it says show for housing choice public organizations only, that when you choose the drop down of the town of Southborough, that this wouldn't show up because it is currently not a housing choice community.
And it's not our call to make that application as housing choice. So I don't see how we can go forward there without the planning board driving the process in the next 3 or 4 days here.
Yeah, that's
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's, I don't know what the options are, but if one of them is where it says, do you want to be considered? If we have an option in there that says, are you planning to be a housing choice community? Then that gives you more credibility or points in the system.
I suppose we could say we are planning to, but which is kind of a
Okay, I think we just ought to hold that out
Yeah.
for right now, but I think it needs to be addressed just to make
Okay.
sure that we're doing it correctly, because I specifically spoke with the town planner's assistant on this.
okay.
Okay,
All
but
right, let's
that's not the planning board's view then. That's Colleen's view, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to go.
Well, she wouldn't be saying anything.
Well, we have a planning board
anyway.
member here. Why don't we ask him his thoughts?
Oh, that's not fair.
Hey, come on. That goes with the big bucks for the planning board. Yeah, maybe that's a question that Vanessa, who's running the IGX thing, could experiment with and see what questions those pop up. If that leads to questions. That gives an opportunity to quickly say, yeah, we're considering it, but we're not there yet. versus having to answer 50 other questions that we're not ready to answer.
Yeah.
I'm not eager to muddy the water with this at this point.
Yeah,
frankly.
I agree.
So I think we're
Let's-
doing, let's
yeah,
see if we can get the application for our goal here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you make that quite a bit bigger?
there you go.
There, all right. All right, so this is the project narrative. And this is a critical project as approximately 167 acres of land along Route 9 in Southborough remain underdeveloped or underdeveloped. Southborough is in a unique position, being the only town between Boston and Goshen along Route 9 without a municipal wastewater system. Despite Route 9's strategic position near 495 and I-90, offering economic advantage, the absence of adequate sewer infrastructure significantly hinders economic and commercial development. Addressing this issue remains a key focus for the town's growth and development as outlined in the 2021 master plan. The proximity of the Sudbury Reservoir to the Route 9 corridor imposes significant restrictions on wastewater treatment systems. The area is currently relies on septic systems for wastewater disposal, which have long-term operational limitations due to inadequate subsurface conditions. The addition of a municipal system greatly expands the potential for commercial and mixed-use development along Route 9 and supports the town's master plan goals for an economically strong, diverse, and self-sustaining business community. Additionally, the town's Economic Development Committee identified wastewater collection and treatment resolution to encourage developers of underutilized parcels and mixed use within the Route 9 corridor and associated property tax revenues. The residential, commercial, retail, and industrial tax mix has shifted from 80-20 to the current 83.7/16.3 ratio, placing excess strain on residential taxes. The Route 9 corridor is the only area that can accommodate sufficient development to generate $150 million worth of CIP revenue to reverse the ratio back to its historic 80-20 level. Without an adequate sewer infrastructure, it is unlikely that developers will invest in the area, and the lack of infrastructure poses significant challenges to sustainable development. That's
Hey, Al?
Yes.
Question, is your 167 acres, does that count Park Central and the Dell property?
It doesn't actually.
I'd add those in.
Yeah, I would say it's actually, it should be over 300.
Over 300 acres, yeah.
Yeah.
Does somebody want to get Anna a number on those two?
I think over
it's-
300 is good.
Over 300 is not bad, I think.
Yeah, okay.
May I just make a comment about that?
Yep.
Okay, so yesterday I met with Paul Sabelli, the assessor, and you know that he and Kathy have been working with Atlantic Management, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so Atlantic Management has their own plans and they know what they want to do and they are rolling ahead. I just bring that up because I think that you don't want to, I don't think you want to put in there anything that assumes that Atlantic Management is going to do ABC without speaking directly with them, or maybe talk to Kathy or whatever. I mean, get a better sense.
Yeah. Hey, Claire, I've talked with the Atlantic guys as well. And I think this is the right number to put in here at this point in time. They don't have a firm plan at this point. They've got a lot of balls in the air. And it's, I think, great opportunity, and I think it's important for us to work with them actively. But to me, these acres are still in play at this point.
By no
So-
means does this state that anybody of the 300 acres is signing on to the sewer. It just says that it's undeveloped and it's an opportunity to perhaps get them connected to sewer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. I'm with that edit, I'm good with this section. Is everybody else?
I think
Yeah,
kudos to
Al's
Al.
done
Al,
characters.
Al, you did a very good job on this.
I didn't do this one.
Hmm.
Is this Anna?
Yes.
Two for
Who did
two,
this
Al.
one?
No,
Good
it's
work.
all
I
Anna.
should take credit, but no, this was Anna's.
Was this Anna?
Yeah.
Anna, very good job.
Nice
Add
job.
add her to the payroll here. How are we doing on characters, Anna?
I think we're around 1,500 for this one. I'd have to go back and check, but there is a little bit of space, but I
Could be
think
a little
with
more maybe.
all the
Okay.
other sections we also
Okay.
have, we cover all our bases.
Okay.
Okay, so then we've got the scope of work. The purpose of this funding request is to utilize the monies from this MassWorks grant to complete the Route 9 decentralized wastewater system preliminary design. It is intended that a separate application will be filed for future rounds of grants for final design and construction of the project. The scope of work of the project will involve the examining identified parcels for wastewater disposal, including feasibility studies of regional, public, and private disposal options, refining the estimated current and future waste flows based on existing economic and potential growth, developing an optimal decentralized wastewater. I can't read the, can you sneak that over or shrink it down just a hair? Wastewater plan to accommodate, yeah. Wastewater layout to accommodate future build-out scenarios, conducting hydrogeologic studies and identifying wastewater disposal parcels and evaluating alternatives for wastewater treatment technologies and disposal sites. Following a successful grant award, the town anticipates that the project would take about approximately 1.5 years to complete. The first 6 months would focus on initial planning and site screening, followed by 12 months dedicated to hydrogeological studies and development of deliverables based on the study result. Yeah, and I think that's pretty solid. Any suggestions? I say we keep that one too. All right. Let's go to progress to date. Describing over the past 2 years, 3 preliminary wastewater studies have been conducted for the project area, which have identified sewer design options, potential disposal methods, and sites. In 2023, a Route 9 corridor wastewater feasibility assessment was developed to study and evaluate the options for independently providing municipal sewers on the Route 9 corridor. This work was supported by a grant from the Economic Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. In 2024, the Route 9 corridor wastewater considerations report was completed to provide further information on the requirements for establishing a sewer system in the project area. Most recently, in 2024, the Wastewater Management Action Plan reviewed previous reports and provided recommendations for advancing the sewer system planning and design on Route 9. The town established a wastewater study committee in March of 2025 that meets regularly to discuss developing a plan for providing wastewater treatment services, primarily to serve current and future commercial and industrial entities along Route 9 in Southborough. And I think that's pretty good. Any comments on that one?
I have one comment. It's just at the very end where we say primarily to serve current and future commercial. That's really the only, right? Like it's
Well,
not primary. Like,
could-
is there?
There
Talked
could
about
be housing.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
We
Then,
talked
then
about
as it is
Fayetteville
fine.
potentially too, actually.
Yeah, I think we should actually sneak housing in there from time to time. Because you know, the state is focused on expanding the housing stock. So I think where we say commercial industrial, we also to say and also residential, comma, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Point.
So, one point on that. This is Brian.
No, just we had to identify everybody. So Brian Shea has joined the meeting
Yes.
at about 7:45.
So, yeah, actually joined at about 7:40, been listening
Oh.
since then.
Okay.
Apologize for being late. So and I don't disagree with adding the residential in there, but one thing that earlier we mentioned the desire to get the split between commercial and residential tax base back to the 80-20, and further residential development kind of defeats that purpose too. So there's a little bit of contradiction between those two goals, but understand the need to
Suppose you put
include
multifamily,
residential for points.
suppose you put like multifamily in front of that.
I think
That's usually
Yeah.
a positive.
yeah.
Yeah, either multifamily or high density. Yeah.
Or both.
Just high density, I think is the
Density
right.
is good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine. Yeah.
good point.
Okay,
I
any
have a
other?
question where it says primarily to serve current and future, what current, so anything that we're doing, what is it going to be, how is it going to affect the current?
In the long run,
Okay, in the long run, okay.
in the long run, the existing facilities would, be required to connect at some point.
Required or an option?
Could
Well,
be
Bob,
either.
you've lived through this more than the rest of us have. My understanding is that normally there's sort of a grace period. But there's also, you get a betterment assessment one way or the other. So it's either you pay a betterment or you connect and pay for flow.
Either way, you pay the betterment, but so you're allowed to assess the betterments no matter where you are. For some reason, I think maybe Alan brought this up, or Brian, like down in Cape Cod, because it's an environmental situation, everyone's required in 5 years to connect. But we won't have that situation probably up here. But still, as long as you get their $15,000 connection fee, you're off and running, because you're trying to knock down the price of the capital cost of this thing. And, over time, most people will end up, going into a sewer, particularly if they have a problem someday, selling a house or a septic system or something.
And Bob, you've made the point several times that the operation of one of these systems is a hassle for a property owner. So if there's an option to hook into a municipal system, a lot of value from an individual property owner, whether it's
Yeah.
commercial or high density residential, to actually
Yeah.
hook in and
I
let
also,
some-
talking to my friends, the developers, like the guys that wrote the letters, they, if they had sewer, they're gonna rethink their whole building. They got a lot of buildings up and down Route 9, most of the buildings, these guys. And they might, I think like Dave Ferris just added retail on one of the office buildings. And he pulled that off somehow with his septic system, but there's a lot more opportunities. You could put a restaurant in the first floor of an office building, public restaurant, if they had sewer. So the redevelopment aspect of what's there now is also, will come into play significantly, I think.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have, I've got once we get past this, I think we have to spend a little time talking about how we pay for this, but we'll get to that. Okay, so we're good with this section?
Somebody made the comment about the residential, which is really true, in terms of selling, and that's when you find out that you have a failing system. But the area that we're really looking at all along Route 9, there's not that much residential there. I just wanted to throw that out there because you
Sure.
can't, in other words, when you're required to hook up, it would be residential. There's not that much residential there.
No. There's
I
more than you
also,
think.
To note, I did take this last sentence from about right here directly from the town's website, and it did not include residential.
No, I think we ought to leave it.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
don't
That's
need-
exactly the point I'm bringing up.
yeah.
I think there's value in leaving it, but I would even go a step further. I'm not sure what the MBTA zoning is called.
You're fading
we
out,
lost
Bill.
you. He had that last time.
Yeah, I don't know. Itself. The MBTA zone.
Still can't
Yeah,
hear
we
you,
can't.
Bill.
Can't hear you, Bill. Okay.
Still can't hear Bill. Maybe it sounded like he was
I-
going to suggest a connection to the Section 3A MBTA communities thing.
Yes, and
Reference.
there is a separate transit-oriented development section where we do discuss the MBTA zoning.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
Bill made a comment in the chat. He's saying if there's an opportunity here to mention the MBTA zoning, that might be a good idea.
Yes, so we do mention that in a few sections in the application.
Great.
Okay. All right, let's proceed.
Okay.
Can you
Okay.
shrink that a little bit, Anna? Can't see the whole answer
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
screen on my screen.
All right, so anticipated outcomes. The additional wastewater processing capacity can unlock significant development opportunities along South Rose Route 9 corridor, a significantly underutilized regional transportation nexus of Route 9, I-95, and the Mass Pike. 495 and then Mass Pike. The new development can include commercial and industrial uses, retail and housing. It will not only support significant economic and job growth in the area, but also provide new commercial and industrial tax revenue for Southborough, thereby relieving the ongoing pressure on the residential taxes. Other pending developments along Route 9 include the following 40B housing projects that are in the permitting process: Park Central, a 120 Turnpike, 250 Turnpike, and 352 Turnpike. Additionally, there's a 90-acre parcel on the southeast side of Route 9 and 495 intersection that is currently in development process and is likely to result in significant new commercial development, plus a significant amount of new residential development.
Hey, Al, I drafted this. I was working from memory on these numbers, so Bob or others might have better numbers to put in here just to make sure we got the right numbers for the 4 developments there. And the acreage on the Dell property, I think it's 90 or so. But again,
The only one I jumps at me is Park Central is back to 200 units because all the original approvals, the 180 and the 150
Okay.
got thrown out by
Okay.
court.
Yeah.
And the only thing they can possibly do there now is 200, which is the town max on the 40B project.
Right. Okay. Good point.
Still,
So
it's legit, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
So where the rest of the numbers come from?
From my memory,
So
but I
one
think
of them
that-
is what Ferris has gotten approved at 120.
Yeah.
yeah, and
And the-
250 is in the pipeline. He's working on 352.
Okay, so, and I'm just throwing this out. Since Park Central is still tied up in the court system, yes, there is potential should everything go forth. You just don't want to put something in there where they would come back and say, man, that's not really true, because that one's tied up.
I think we say currently in the permitting process, which means
Yeah.
we're not putting any sort of percentage of
Yeah.
specificity or likelihood on it, right?
Yeah.
I take your point, Claire. 200 could go to 100. 100 could go to 0. We don't know. Same
Yeah.
as the other two that are already permitted, but we're just kind of throwing a dart at something to say this is what's possible here, which is why we want to why we're going after this.
Even more than possible, Alan. This is in the permitting process, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah.
So I think
Park
it's-
Central?
And going to court is sometimes part of the permitting process,
It's definitely part of the permitting process.
sadly. Okay, I'm good with this. Is everybody
I'm good.
else?
Just the last thing, I would encourage, reach out to Kathy and just make sure that the latest chit chat that they've had with Atlantic Management also includes a significant amount of new residential development.
Um,
And the reason that I'm saying that is because in talking with the assessor, it seems that right now they're really more with the buildings, they're more into the commercial or industrial kind.
Supposedly
Claire, that's-
added at the end, plus
That-
possibly a significant amount of new residential.
yeah, that's true for Atlantic, Claire,
That's what I'm
but
saying.
Atlantic doesn't own all that property there, and there's still interest in the residentially zoned piece in the southern part of that
That's
property
true.
from
Yeah.
others out there. So I think that this is, again, true, but it's unknown in terms of exactly what Atlantic is going to do. And Atlantic, again, doesn't control the entire site
Yeah.
here at this point.
They're a year or two away from, getting to the point of, floating a permit, I think.
Having a real deal. That's right.
Somebody just has to be the devil's advocate.
Yeah, all right.
Claire, part of the EMC property there that they are involved in does have 37 acres of residentially zoned land there.
Yes,
So unless the town rezones it, it's gonna be residential development. So,
I think we're good on this section. I mean, let's press onward. Okay, so, Sam, I think you and Bob sort of worked this up.
Yep. This is highly scientific with the Bob
Right.
Moss algorithms to determine precision in terms of unit estimates here. So
It's probably more scientific than most of the applications we'll be going up against.
I have great
Right.
confidence in it, but at least Bob can talk through where he got these numbers if need be.
And I encourage you to do that. And the reason is because these same numbers are also being provided for another grant that is being, well, I'm not saying these same numbers, but the project impact numbers are also included in a grant that Southborough is doing with Westborough and Northborough. So you just want to make sure that everybody's got the same numbers in there.
Claire, do you
Oh.
know who's coordinating
Yeah.
that application?
Yeah, Leah's doing it.
But
And
we should get a
What's
copy
the grant
of this to
for?
Leah.
right.
Yeah. What is
we
that
should
grant
tell
for?
them we should tell them what our numbers are.
Yeah.
So that,
Now, I'll volunteer to get this to Leah.
Okay.
Someone should get this to her, because if it doesn't agree, then it looks silly on us.
Yeah. Hey, Claire, what is that grant for, Claire?
It's a regional grant to do planning along Route 9. So that there's some, there's some cohesiveness and knowing that the state likes regional stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Northborough has a problem with wastewater along the Route 9, Route 20 intersection. And Westborough has their own issues with it. So it's the first pass in that.
Is it one-stop grant as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So Alan, so you're gonna take the action item to walk this by Leah.
Whatever version we have by the end of the night is what
Yeah.
I'll get it from you, Anna, and I'll send it to her.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
Leah also got the numbers from planning. So that's why I'm saying, we.
Do our numbers come from planning?
No,
Yeah, no, the ones that
these
she's.
numbers don't.
Do our numbers
No,
come
no,
from planning,
not-
Claire?
I don't know where these come from, but the
Yeah.
ones that Leah has come from.
Yeah.
planning.
Well, I actually have more confidence in these.
I do too.
Given that we actually have people who know what they're doing.
Planning doesn't have anybody who's actually done one of these, so.
But yes, okay,
No,
so
but they track everything that has been, that's being proposed, et cetera.
Yeah.
Leah work in
And
EDC,
Alan,
not
since
planning.
you're on planning board, you're the right person to deal with it.
For the
okay,
record,
Yeah.
Leah doesn't work in planning. She works in EDC. I think she's skilled to do some of these things.
Yeah.
all right, so let's
can I add one thing here? I don't know if I was talking about this. The last thing, total construction jobs to be supported by the private development projects. I mean, that's gonna be thousands of job, I mean, what do they call it, per year, or I don't know how they decide.
it's
it seems-
it's sort of a sloppy definition, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no guidance here. It certainly should say 1,000 or something, I mean, no construction job is a permanent job.
Say
It's, how
1,000
many,
plus.
1,000 plus maybe,
Yeah, 1,000 plus.
Yeah,
I just feel a little
certainly, I think our position should be, that's the number of man years of construction,
right, okay,
excuse me, person years of construction.
yeah. All set.
Yes, all right. Next one, okay. So now we are, the business impacts, square feet of office. Okay, so we got 700,000. Square feet of industrial, including warehouses, 2.1 million.
Mhm.
Total
All right.
square footage would be 2.8.
Yeah. I assume,
Why does that X, Anna, why does that X stay there? Do you not just add those two?
Yeah, so that's just showing that it's going to be auto-populated from the two
Okay.
numbers above, so you don't have to fill it in on the form.
Okay.
okay, so then the grant funding request. So are we asking for 300,000 or 400,000?
I
I
thought it
thought
was
we were
400.
asking for
Yeah.
400.
We discussed having the total amount for the project be 400, and the town has a match amount prepared, possibly in the
okay.
fall for 100.
Yep, good.
Okay. All right, because we said 25%. I guess that would be, depends on how you count it, but yes, all right. So that's fine. Well, I'm good with that. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
hold on a second. If we're, Al, I can't remember at the last select board meeting, did we say $100,000 or do we say 25%? Because right now,
We said
this reads
25%.
as, so this reads as 33%. Because 100 of 300, right?
So it's a
Total
$400,000
the-
project.
400
Yeah.
costs, 25% is 100.
But if you look at section we have 300 in that middle line item. I'm not trying to split hairs here. I'm being honest. I'm sincerely. I'm just saying if we didn't say $100,000 as an absolute number, but said it as a relative number, as a percentage, you could look at the $300,000 and say, well, 25% of that is not 100. It's some number smaller than 100.
It's 75,000.
Yeah.
Right. So what
Yeah.
I'm saying is if we are saying $100,000 is it $400,000 total including our match, or is it 25% of the number that's supposed to be in the total line right above it? That's
But it
what I'm
says
getting at.
funding request, Alan, so we're looking for $300,000 from One Stop, is the way I read that. And the total project is 400, and town puts up 100.
What we can do is we can clarify that in 211B.
Fine by me. I just want to make sure that we don't end up
Yeah.
shooting ourselves in the foot for like a
Yeah.
silly misunderstood math number. That's all.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So if we go down to 211B, I think what we can say is the town expects that the total project would be 400,000. That the town is prepared to provide $100,000 of matching funds. If we get a grant for 300,000, which would be 25, the town share would be 25% of the total.
Okay, I'll edit that.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, excellent. All right,
Good.
let's press onward. Other funding sources, not at the moment.
Since there are other funding sources,
Okay,
that section. So this will be auto-populated, so it'll show the grant funding request, 300,000, applicant match, 100,000, and it'll culminate to a total project cost of 400,000.
okay,
Next is a cost estimate for the project. This is mostly used for construction. It's asking for a construction cost estimate, and since this is a planning or pre-development project, we're not adding a construction cost estimate.
okay. Then we have to attach the project location map,
Yes,
and I think you had prepared one, is that correct?
yes, project location map. I can get that from, wait for a second. From my email. This is the project location map that we're going to show. The purpose of this is really just to show the overview of the project area.
It's pretty impressive. I like that.
Yeah. Actually, I think if you can highlight, yeah, I think that's adequate. You know, we can always adjust as we go forward.
Yeah.
If you wanted to include the golf course, and if you wanted to include the EMC properties to the south. Do you know the EMC way over on the west side of the map? Yeah,
Right.
right there, and then there's a parcel below that. Right there, yep. And then the golf course, which is in the middle and to the north.
The green area up
Yeah,
above.
go north, right there,
water.
yep. I would include that as well.
No, is that the golf course? The golf course is farther to the right, up and to the right, right?
Hang
Yeah.
on here, that's, oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Go to the right,
Above the water,
right there, yep, that's it, yep.
green area.
As they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that's
Yeah.
a fantastic map. It's great.
We've just used our 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Those-
That's
are
right
those-
from the Route
I'm
9
sorry.
feasibility study that Weston and Sampson did.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Bill put into the chat, are we not considering the median of 495?
oh, that good, it's a
So-
good point. So go back to the map.
Are we talking about discharge sites or areas that you're trying to provide sewer to?
Discharge.
So the project corridor are the areas that are being sewered.
Oh,
Great,
And
great
then-
point, Steve. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
all right, then in that case, we can, this is fine, we can always expand it.
But it would include the Dell properties that you mentioned originally there, Al.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Exactly.
Not the golf course,
yes,
not the 495 median.
So all right, so the two on the bottom there.
yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, environmental justice.
Yes, this is easy. Yes, no. I think we went over this in a different meeting.
Yep,
That
yep.
is, this project is within a mile of one, so just a quick checkbox, yes. The next section is a short answer for possible community engagement plan.
Can you make that just a hair
went
smaller?
back
Yeah, this project aims to enhance the tax base by developing the Route 9 corridor. It's the only area in Southborough capable of supporting the town's goal of achieving a balanced mix of residential, commercial, retail, and industrial properties. The current tax mix is inadequate and is placing a significant burden on residential properties. Developing this corridor will help alleviate the tax burden on residents, boost property values along Route 9. The town plans to conduct public forums to inform the public of proposed project and will use town platforms such as Southborough Access Media, Facebook, and local blogs for additional outreach. Southborough has a large senior resident population, and efforts were made to prioritize informing senior residents about the proposed project. Once this project moves forward to final design and construction, additional engagements will be and opportunities will be provided to town residents. I'm good with that.
Very good. I
Yep.
think.
All right.
Next section is about any sustainability measures are pretty early in the design process. So this is kind of just general language about what can be done during the design projects to prioritize sustainability.
Do we want to look at water reuse in the discharge area for irrigation possibilities?
I would be on board with that.
I think that's a good green
That kind of meets that's super sustainable.
idea.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to throw out a grenade here, but would it be inappropriate to mention that we're considering the golf course, or because that would be like a major consumer of the amount of wastewater we have, but
Well-
or is it too early to say that?
Yeah, hey, Alan, sadly, it's not a major consumer. It's an important consumer, but I did some preliminary numbers at one point. My estimate is the golf course could use somewhere 5 or 10 million gallons a year for irrigation, roughly. And if we had 500,000 gallons per day of effluent out of this thing, it'd be a small portion. But I think it's a great point to make
Got it.
here,
Okay.
to simply say we're considering using discharge area for discharge effluent for irrigation purposes, in which we are, but not clear how that might work out. But I think it's a good point to put in here.
The
So
other,
we're just gonna add the line at the end here, that the town is studying the possibility of putting their recharge onto their town municipal golf course.
yeah,
something along that line.
Yeah.
So I'll add
The
that.
other thing that I think that if we can sneak it in here, and we got 1,000 characters, is Alan found a really sort of interesting idea, which is the idea that we could use the effluent, either the sewage or the effluent as a heat sink for a
Data centers or
or some sort of heating and cooling application. And I think that, we say, we would also investigate, the use of using effluent as a heat sink for what's the right word?
cooling for like high heat data centers and similar.
Yeah.
Is that,
I was, but
does that work, Alan? I mean, it seems to me.
does what work?
The MWRA actually generates a lot of methane and uses that for energy at Deer Island. But the digester process there creates a lot of heat. It doesn't provide any cooling capacity. They've looked at geothermal for that cooling stuff, but
I don't know the temperature of the water that comes out of these. I do know that I was reading an article from MIT Review that one of the number one sort of costs of data centers is to use water to control, to limit the heating, to basically try to control the heating. And on top of it, a lot of them are using potable water. So this would actually reduce the use of potable water. And
Yeah.
on top of it, put a secondary use on what is wastewater. I don't think we need to get into the temperature of what the exiting wastewater is. Just know that
Okay.
it's something that we could consider.
Yeah, and as long as it is basically, normal temperature, which it would be certainly, that still could serve as a cooling source for data centers that are running computers that
Well,
are
it
100
could,
degrees.
so to take that half a step further, it could be used in a heat pump application as, the heat sink.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So, I think what we ought to say is, we're also investigating using wastewater for heating and cooling applications, for green heating and cooling applications.
Irrigation and green heating and cooling
Yep.
application, gray water.
Yeah, yeah, because if we got it, that's a great application if you can make it work.
Yeah. I think you also want to mention the town municipal golf course, because it kind of
Yeah.
means you have, even though we know we don't have control, it implies you have control.
Well, we do actually. We own it, and we direct the management company.
But you have to ask permission to do anything.
Well, there's a
That's
conservation
true of everything in
restriction.
town.
Yeah, conservation restriction, but we theoretically.
You want to put a line in there, Anna, along this line?
Yes, yeah, I will.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
All right, so then let's press forward. We're making good progress.
Yes, the climate resilience design report, based on the guidelines, is just for construction projects.
Okay.
Right over that. And then next, the general site information.
Okay, so the project area contains 172 parcels located along Route 9 corridor from 347 Turnpike Road to 6 Turnpike Road, approximately 735 acres. This grant request is for technical assistance to help the town evaluate the selected sites for a wastewater treatment facility, including viable groundwater discharge site for treated wastewater effluent. This includes the evaluation of a mix of public and privately owned parcels. The primary target item, the primary targeted site is at the town offices as listed above. The town is not yet engaged in detail discussions with the private property owners. Will do so as part of this process.
I thought we were using the transfer station Middle Road property as the initial.
It turns out their address is Town Hall.
Oh,
They don't
Yeah.
want their mailing address. They want where the place, where's the property, everything.
It doesn't have an address, but not one I could find anyway.
Could we
Yeah.
just put DPW since it's adjacent to the transfer station?
Well, it has parcel numbers, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I'm just
So-
wondering if someone looks up the address of this and they look on a map and they see the townhouse and they see its proximity to Route 9, which is
Yeah.
not really proximate.
Yeah,
But if we put the DPW building, which is adjacent to the transfer station,
yeah.
Actually, you know what we can do? We say
DPW
DPW
address.
building, Route 85, Southborough, Massachusetts.
But that has an address on Corderville Road.
But it didn't Claire say they're gonna spend 30 minutes on this? I think we
Yeah,
could just
yeah, good
describe
point.
it as,
Why don't we, let's change that to DPW building, Corderville Road, Southborough, Massachusetts.
I wouldn't say
Why
building.
wouldn't you
Or
include?
DPW, yes, okay, Department of Public Works.
property?
Yeah,
Yeah. Corderville Road. There is an address there. I can't remember what it is.
Bill, do you know what your address is? We got the DPW director here. He's gonna,
I'm not sure if you can hear us.
147 Corderville
147.
Road.
Yep.
All right. Perfect.
Great.
So, and then in the paragraph where the primary targeted site is at a town-owned parcel adjacent to the DPW property,
Yeah,
within 200 yards of Route 9. I think to be able to tie that to as a proximate location to Route 9 would be important as well.
Good.
It should be listed on that, on the map that Anna showed. It was from there. It should be one of the parcels in there, I would think.
But yeah, we need, but need a description here, I think.
yeah. So the primary targeted site is adjacent to the DPW offices, Department of Public Works, DPW offices,
Located at,
located as listed above.
Within 200 yards of Route 9.
But adjacent.
No, it's actually, it's adjacent to
Route 9. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Comma and adjacent to Route 9.
It's the DPW offices as listed above, which are also adjacent to Route 9. All right.
Do you
Are we
really
good
want
with
to
that?
include, do you really want to include where it says, the town has not yet engaged in detail with the private property owners, but will do so as part of the process? It would seem to me we could just kind of like get on that, like shortly. Since specific properties haven't been listed, do you really want to put that in there? Or just do it? And like Bob said, and I said earlier, at 30 minutes looking at this, it's not going to be that much
It's
of a,
fine the way it is myself.
what's that?
They know that we haven't pinned down where we're going with this thing.
Yeah, that's the
And,
purpose.
and we're probably juggling half a dozen places. So this, because the way this questionnaire is kind of way ahead of us in that we haven't even got to the point of really, when we're having these discussions, but we haven't pinned down anywhere near where we think is be the optimum place to go. But I think when they read we're just in the study part here. That's why we don't have an answer yet.
I don't think this hurts us to keep it in.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Okay, then let's proceed.
And then it asked for a site plan. So this was also taken from the feasibility study. Just shows some of the planning that's been done for the project thus far.
Okay,
So that's 3 different figures.
Yes.
So for each
Can
of
you
the
go
different
back
areas.
one figure, please? Very good. So that is the plan that would show that parcel behind the DPW, which
actually, the
isn't highlighted,
DPW
right?
is identified.
That's the far right one, right?
Near-
Yeah,
near the
you
right
can see
one,
it's
yeah.
that's the intersection of 85 and Route
Yeah,
9.
Yeah,
West of
it's got a
Porterville.
purple box on it. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think that lot, the town-owned lot behind it is identified though. Between there and Middle Road.
Yes, you're right. So there, I don't know how difficult it is for you to do it, but there is, if you can move your cursor over to the DPW facility, right? Yeah, up a little bit.
That's-
Okay, then move it to the west, just a
Left.
little bit, right
Right
there.
there.
That parcel is owned by the town. And if we can highlight that easily, that would be that, because that's actually a potential site for the plant.
But isn't this just a copy of the other engineer's plan?
Yes.
Anna, I don't know
I
how.
thought this one was actually developed by Weston and
It's
Sampson.
yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if you
It
can,
has their name on it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
So if you guys can highlight that parcel, that would be good. Again, you know, I think with a 30-minute review, the fact that we've been thinking about this systematically is probably sufficient.
Sounds good.
All right, let's so we've got the drawing. Then transit oriented development. Okay, so is the project site located within half a mile of a transit station? And the answer is yes. If identified the transit station, Southborough is served by the MBTA commuter rail via Southborough Station on the Framingham Worcester line. Southborough is in compliance with the Section 3A of MGL 40A through the adoption of the zoning overlay district requiring additional housing density. Approximately 2/3 of the 50 acres in the overlay district is within the Route 9 project area. Is that half mile thing? Is that the?
No, it's not. The half mile is 10 acres, Al. And
Okay,
there's
no,
5 acres up in the northwest corner.
Right.
And the remainder then is in this project area. I
Okay,
think,
all right.
Bob,
Yeah,
you're closer to these
you're
numbers than I am, but I think that's right.
okay. With Southborough's MBTA station, the new Route 9 housing development supported by the proposed infrastructure will provide an important combination of needed housing and public transit access. I mean, I'm good with this, but do you guys,
This is
Alan,
great.
are you good with this?
Yeah, the only thing I would consider, and consider adding is something like, and that housing will need to be sewered, or if it's more beneficial to sewer it versus trying to use septic or something like that, because it's going to be high density housing. But if we're at the 5, and that's the only small addition I would even consider. Otherwise, it's perfect as is.
How about the next 2 lines up from the bottom, new Route 9 high density hyphenated housing supported by this project.
Yeah, I think that would kind of
High density,
the point home.
sewered housing
Mm.
development.
density,
supported by-
comma.
But otherwise, it's great. Nice.
All right. Then current zoning is commercial industrial. Yep. All right. Yeah. All right. Community development tools. We don't have any of those. The site ownership, is the site publicly owned?
That's the transfer station site, that I think
Yeah.
they're referring to, right?
Yes, the site we identified is what they're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's public land.
Yeah, all right,
Because of that, we don't have to answer these two questions here.
all right.
And I
But
believe we've
speaking
discussed
of-
this as meetings before, that we're about at 10% design right now. When this project is over, preliminary design will be over, it'll be at 50%. And we anticipate finishing the project around June 2027.
Okay, so the town intends to commence preliminary design and hydrogeologic studies for the sewer infrastructure project in October of 2025 with an anticipated preliminary design completion of June of 27, pending available funding. Final design is expected to begin in October 27, followed by construction. It's optimistic, but I think it's
Sorry?
fine. I would actually say November of 25, because that would be our first opportunity to we were planning a special town meeting for November of 25. So if they gave us the go ahead, we could secure funding in November.
Are these dates consistent with the timeframes that was stated earlier? With like the 6 months and 12 months. There was something earlier
Yeah.
stated about timeframes. I didn't just want to make sure that there's consistency between what we had stated previously and these dates.
Yeah, we talked about how this project would take approximately 1.5 years. So November to 2 Junes later would be approximately 1.5 years.
So, but they do correlate with those numbers.
Yes.
Anna, when you put this paragraph together, you based it off of that information.
Very good.
Okay, private development. We don't have a somebody identified. Okay, so then Southborough, population 10,454, 28 miles west of Boston. A major Southborough's major commercial corridor is Route 9. Along Route 9 between Boston and Goshen, population 934, 121 miles west of Boston. Southborough is the only community without access to a wastewater treatment facility. Studies in the town master's plan have pointed to the lack of wastewater services as a significant barrier to development along Route 9. There are significant sites in the corridor whose soils or proximity to wetlands limits commercial or housing development, and there are industries that are reluctant to locate without access to wastewater services. Southborough is located in the heart of Metro West, but is underdeveloped with respect to neighboring communities when it comes to business enterprises and dense housing facilities. The proposed facility would facilitate commercial, industrial, and higher density residential development whose benefits will be felt in the town and the broader region.
He's a little wordsmithing there. Whose apostrophe S is not right.
Oh, okay.
With
Where are we?
WHOSE.
line corridor with soil restrictions or
Yeah.
proximity or wetland proximity that limit commercial housing development potential. So
Yeah, okay, so
with
Well,
I'd say corridor
yeah.
with soil restrictions or wetland proximity that limit commercial housing development. And then facility like the second to last line, density residential development with benefits that will be felt in the town and broader region.
Okay, any other edits?
I mean, we're
think-
repeating a lot of this stuff in various
Yeah.
places here. I don't think
Yeah.
that's really bad.
I believe in the 3 tells rule. Tell them what you're gonna tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
What you told them.
I think we're at 4 or 5 here, but that's okay.
Well, if they're going to skim it in 30 minutes, we got to make sure they catch it at least once.
Catch
Yeah.
one, that's right. Statistically, there's a good chance.
Well, they kind of asked the same question 5 different ways too, right?
Excellent point. You're right, Steve.
Maybe they're testing us to see if we
Yeah.
answer. Right?
We know how to copy paste. Come on, we're no fools.
All right, if we're good, let's press forward.
Yep.
There's a sentence right in the middle there, though, that could actually just be easily chopped in half instead of having it be 3 lines. Where it's right in the middle of that box. There are significant sites in the corridor with soil restrictions or wetland proximity that limit commercial or housing development potential, period. And something in the effect of industries are reluctant to locate without access to wastewater systems. You see what I'm saying? Just to
Yeah,
kind of make it a
that's
little
fine.
clearer.
Okay, we good now?
You might
Yeah,
just declare that that same sentence, industries are reluctant to locate at sites without access to wastewater.
Yeah, it's kind of
Good.
Good. All right, let's proceed.
So the next is about private development if we had clicked yes. So we don't have to answer
Nope.
these.
so you guys in talking with developers and stuff, so it actually benefits a developer to have some funding or whatever, I would think, for wastewater. Just taking, for example, Ferris, he does have his sites there, but if he's going to be building and expanding out, wouldn't he be a potential somebody that the town could partner with in terms of maybe getting some upfront seed money?
Yep, but we don't have anything now, Claire, as we
Would
said.
say after, if we get approved here, then the answer is yes. But I don't think we could ask them now. You know, it's too
No,
up
I
in the air
understand.
right now. But
Right.
I think to your point, I think they probably would be willing to contribute in our next phase of this thing.
Yeah, and that contribution could be expertise as much as cash, although cash is always good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe a source of matching funds potentially
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
But to Claire's point, I mean, on one hand, you can count all the people that are going to get the biggest benefit from this thing.
Yeah,
You know, there's, EMC and Capital Group Properties, DePietri and Ferris and,
yeah.
Bartolini's and a few other people.
And the other part of it too is obviously the state likes to see that you're a partner and that's somebody who's gonna throw some skin into the game too.
Yeah.
okay, so let's see, letters of support. So we have 2 letters from Ferris and DePietri. I'm working on getting Andrew Dennington will be writing us letters of support and indicating that the select board is on board with matching the match
Yeah.
funding.
Al, those 2 revised letters to Andrew, is that what I don't know.
I think we're close enough, again, I think what's important, yeah. And I've got Kate Donahue is gonna write us a letter. I've just gotta finish following up with her. And then I
Did you
finally got
not
a
get
hold.
those letters? Al, did you not get those 3 letters I sent to you today?
Yeah, I did. I
okay.
got, yeah, sorry, I've been farming all day.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you have
I will be dealing with that first thing in the morning.
okay, so
then-
you have 3 completely revised letters that they
Yeah.
can just take and do what they want with it.
And I finally got a hold of Eldridge's office and they'll provide us with a letter as well.
Bill just put a
Great.
map in the chat. Talks about
Oh,
Mass DEP estimated sewer system service area B. I'm not quite sure.
Just put a note that Oakham, Paxton, and one other town do not have municipal sewer. But I owned a big
Where's
property in
Route-
Paxton. Paxton is nowhere near Route 9, so I'm not sure why that would matter. there was a point in ours that we're the only people on Route 9, but it's not
Right.
like we're the only people between here and Gosham
Correct.
without
I guess
sewer.
the Route 9, the street network is not on the map, so for me it's hard to orient myself where Route 9 is. But
Yeah.
so, Bill, I take your point that there are towns between us and them. If there's an ability to,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the legend. If there's an ability to turn on the route system, that'd be helpful.
So what I
Right.
did is I actually I followed Route 9 online, town by town, and I went to each town website to find out if they had a sewer district.
Brute force.
Yeah, yeah, it's not, I didn't use Chat GPT.
No, you got it done. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
And I don't think, there are a couple of squirrely ones in there, but we're okay. I think we're all right. And again, at 30 minutes, nobody's gonna check.
Yeah. And honestly, if there's one, the larger point stands, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, some of those towns actually don't have a wastewater treatment plant, but they actually are connected to a sewer system in an adjoining town. So
Right.
that's where they basically have access to a municipal sewer system, which to me is the key point here.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so,
hey, Al,
yes,
what other letter, should we not have a letter from the planning board? Letter of support?
it's probably impossible to get one at this point
Yeah,
because
by Monday.
Monday?
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
they don't do anything without a vote and a discussion.
Yeah, but also I think the state is, I mean, I know your planning board's probably in favor of this,
Yeah.
I don't think that's really a letter of support, really.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
just another letter.
They haven't dealt with our planning board.
If they're grading
Sam.
us on how many letters we submit, then we should get one.
Yeah,
Sam, I can hear you,
I know that. You don't quite count yet, Alan.
Oh, you're right. Not yet.
All right, so I think we have walked our way through application 1, and we basically, subject to some puts and takes, we're there.
Yeah.
I'm going to
so.
suggest, since it's 8:46, that we do the second one tomorrow night at 6:30, and that we will be doing in person. Is that okay? Because Anna looks tired.
Well, and will you guys have a chance to look at, she'll email it. And that might give you guys, I don't know how
Right.
the whole process is gonna work now, but it
Yeah.
would be helpful if you guys had a chance to look at it ahead of time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Yep.
Right. And also, I know we hashed out really just about everything in this meeting, but to Claire's point, this is the first time we're soaking it all in. So I venture to make the suggestion, if anyone does have any changes, whether it's tonight, if you're still awake, or tomorrow morning, get those to Anna, and then maybe we could start the meeting off tomorrow with, okay, were there any written changes between last night and 6:30 tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then if not, then that puts us in a position to vote to accept this one. If there are changes, we can quickly kind of go through those and then move on to the next one. So we can even get possibly one voted on tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. Then, if there's no other,
No,
Alan?
one other thought, just as a reminder, I likely cannot make tomorrow night's meeting. So, Bill, you might be on the hook to run the Zoom. I've got a personal commitment to attend to, and I'm not sure if I'm back in time. So you can't count on me, but if I can make it as a panelist, I will.
All right, excellent. All right, then motion to adjourn.
So move.
So
Second,
All right. Roll call vote, Sam,
Aye.
Alan, Bob, Claire,
aye.
Brian,
Brian is aye.
and Al is aye. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow night. Good progress. Thank you, Anna, for keeping
excellent contributions.
us organized.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's
Very
like
job.
herding cats.
Steve, you still
All
there?
I am still here.
Good to see you. Sorry I was late, but I didn't get to say hi at
No, it's
beginning of the
always
meeting.
good,
Good
yeah.
to see you again.
Good to see
All
you.
right.
All right.
And
Thanks, Steve.
hopefully, I poor Anna's clock is stuck on 2:36.
I
Hopefully,
know.
She's very
Okay.
tired.
you're,
No, Claire and I are gonna
6
get
a.m.
this fixed somewhere along the line, right, Claire?
Right.
The
yeah.
clock.
Time just stands
We're gonna go
still.
find out where
Yeah.
our office is and bring a couple batteries and put them in there.
All
We do
Hopefully
that
you're
on
paying it for all
purpose.
this time and, it's,
Anna never goes home. She doesn't know what time it is.
you're gonna move it to 5 o'clock, Anna.
There you
Do
go.
yourself a favor.
It's always 5.
Good night, everyone.